Hello friends, today we will do class 5 ICSE Social Studies chapter Democratic Government. First topic, our government. India has democratic form of government. The Indian government is elected by a system of universal adult franchise, which means that the right to vote is exercised by anybody and everybody who is 18 years of age. Second topic, organs of government. There are three organs of government. First, legislature. Second, executive. Third, judiciary. Legislature is the law-making body. Executive is responsible for enforcing the laws made by the legislature. Judiciary ensures that the law of the land is correctly understood and interpreted. It prevents people from violating the laws. Federal structure of our government. Our government has a federal structure. Here, power is divided between the union and the state government. India has 28 states and 9 union territories. Union list. It contains all the subjects which are of national importance like defense, finance and so on. The central government makes laws on these subjects. State list. It contains list of matters such as law and order, public health and so on. That comes within the legislation of the states. Third is concurrent list. It includes subjects like economic and social planning, labor and so on. Both the center and state governments can make laws on these subjects. Powers of legislature. Legislative powers. Legislature has different powers and its main power can be said to be the power to enact laws. In total, the legislature has the power to regulate the rights and obligations of the people in accordance with the constitutional provisions. Executive powers. The legislative control over the executive is through the various methods such as the principle of collective responsibility, committees, etc., as already discussed. Executive is responsible to the legislature individually as well as collectively. Financial powers. The parliament or the legislature controls the financial matters. The government passes the budget before the starting of a new financial year, and the parliament discusses over the budget and gives assent to that bill. And no money can be spent or no tax can be imposed without the approval of the parliament. If the budget does not get passed, then also ultimately the government should resign. Judicial powers. Judicial powers of the parliament includes the power to impeach the president for violation of the constitution, the power to remove the judges of Supreme Court and High Court on the grounds of proved misbehavior and incapacity, the power to remove the president, etc. Electoral powers. Elected members of the parliament and elected members of the legislative assemblies, as well as the elective members of the legislative assemblies of the union territories, participate in the election of the president, the head of the executive. Members of both houses of parliament participate in the election of the vice president. Houses also participate in the election of the speaker and deputy speaker to the Lok Sabha and deputy chairman to the Rajya Sabha respectively. Constituent powers. Article 368 of the Indian Constitution provides specific provision for amendment of the Constitution, and the Parliament is the repository of the constituent powers of the Union. For an amendment, a bill should be introduced in either houses of the Parliament so that the constitutional amendment has been exclusively reserved for the Parliament. And the provisions of the Indian Constitution can be amended by the Parliament only by a special majority, not less than the 2/3 members of each house present and voting. In case of limited categories of constitutional provisions, special majority needs to be ratified by the legislature by not less than half of the states. And also the Constitution Amendment Bill, as duly passed or ratified, should be presented to the President, and the President should give his assent, and there he has no option to withhold his assent or to return the bill to the House for reconsideration. Miscellaneous powers. Miscellaneous powers of the Parliament of India includes the power of the Parliament to create a new state, or the power to change names or alter the boundaries of a state by a procedure of law. Parliament power to create or abolish the Legislative Council for a state on recommendation of the legislative assemblies of such a state concerned. Parliament has the power to impose emergency. Legislature at centre and states. The Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha are the two houses of Parliament, wherein Lok Sabha is the lower house of the Parliament and Rajya Sabha is the upper house of the Parliament. These two houses of Parliament primarily differ in their functions and powers. The Lok Sabha is called the House of the People. The Rajya Sabha is also known as the Council of States. Members of these houses are called Members of Parliament. Executive at the centre and states. The executive part of the government executes the law passed by the legislature. The President, Prime Minister and other ministers of the central government comprise the executive at the central level. The President is elected for a term of 5 years by the elected members of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and the state legislature. In a general election, when a party is voted in majority, it is invited by the President to form a government. If no party gets vote in majority, then some like-minded parties come together to form a majority. Such a government is called a coalition government. The government is headed by the Prime Minister. The President is the constitutional head of the country. Judiciary. Judiciary is the third organ of the government. The judiciary is the system of courts that interprets and applies the law in the name of the state. The judiciary is the branch of a government which administers justice according to law. The court apply the law and settle disputes and punish lawbreakers according to the law. Our judicial system is a key aspect of our democratic way of life. It upholds peace, order and good government.